We've not titled this yet. I'm Matt Bressington, by the way, and I'm here with Chris Tebbs. How are you doing, Chris? Before we get into the introductory of what we're going to do in the show, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm really looking forward to this season. I'm really looking forward to be right here. So I'm looking forward to the preseason, the season, and the postseason.
There we go. So you guys, you'll know me from other projects I've done. I'm a scout. I'm an analyst. I talk about players and a little bit more into that. But Teb, what can the people expect from you? Because I've known you for years. But what can the Europe expect from Tebbs?
I tell you what, if there's one thing that I specialize in and have specialized in, it is the coldest takes across the continent of Europe in regards to American football. In regards to some things I've done in the past, obviously over in the UK, commentating, having my own media company, Depth Chart Sports, in case you're interested, and also for the last 2 seasons commentating on European American football.
Correct me if I'm not wrong. I know I'm not wrong because I used it today in the video. You've had quite an iconic moment that people might recognize. What do you reckon was the key of your last season commentating football? What was your favorite moment, Tebbs? What do you reckon?
Well, I will say within the context of this, being a Dolphins fan is important for this. But I tell you what, when Taulia Tagovailoa, he's coming to play for Hamburg, and when I saw my name on that docket to commentate it, I was like, this is going to be huge. This is going to be absolutely massive. And I think that the most well-known voice clip of me is it's a pick six. It's a pick six when Taulia threw his first his first pass in European American football, and it went for 6 points for the Stuttgart Surge.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was it, really, wasn't it?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've done other games, but like that moment was one that I have been recognized for vocally, which was a strange moment to be someone be like, "Oh yeah, I recognize your voice. You were commentating that," and I was like, "Yeah, I was." And then obviously the fact that obviously he's now no longer the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, but at that point I just knew for a fact that to us out there somewhere, probably in Miami, was watching that game and listening to me talk about his brother's first pass in Europe being a pick six.
Oh, that's a good segue into this one because we're gonna talk about the first pass thrown in the EFA, which is gonna be with the Frankfurt Galaxy going to Paris. But it's a bit different, Tebbs, and we know what it is. Everyone knows what it is. It's a Friday night game. I don't think we've ever, as far as I'm aware, ever had a Friday night lights game in Europe, a league this high. So that's kind of mad to have that. I'm not sure how it's going to work with everything, with logistical stuff, but that's a pretty solid way to start off a season, I think. What do you reckon?
Well, I mean, it's going to be the first game played in the EFA. You might as well make it special and put it on Friday. Everyone knows that those Friday night lights games, they do hit a little bit different when you're under those spotlights. And I mean, as a first game as it goes, Frankfurt versus Paris, that's the way you want to start.
What team are you rooting for? I just noticed a flash of color that you're wearing. Maybe you have a certain team.
No, I am. It is.
It's not no bias on this one at all. Never.
Just stretching up there. But I mean, you look at Frankfurt last year, and they were just one of the most amazing teams to follow. Especially with it was just exciting. Obviously, we had Platzgummer at the start of the season putting on electric performances, and then being able to sort of carry that out and being this hopeful team to truthfully take it all last year. Not being able to make it there, obviously new horizons here in the EFA, and the problem that we've got with the EFA is that you look at the 6 teams in it and you go, okay, they're all good, right? Like if you really want to pick it, I think over on Fourth Down Fiasco they said, if you're looking at Prague Lions as your worst team, that's a good league. That's a very, very good league, and especially with Paris as well. Obviously we're how many months out? 2 months out here.
Yeah, May 15th we start. Yeah.
It may be far too early, but I mean, pick a winner in that one. going to be a hard task.
To be honest, I think a lot of them are kind of 50-50 games. Like you look at the Galaxy, like you say, such a fun team. They've retained Bressington, who was just an electric receiver. They've now just signed Tyler Foster, who is also an electric receiver. Jared Allen, who I know you're a massive fan of him. He's a fantastic running back. And then their offensive tackles, Steven Nielsen, 6'8", 330, former CFL guy. And then their other one, Luka Jokel, 6'8", 310. Like their tackles are huge. They've got a former D1 guy in this with Demetrius in the middle of the interior line. Like the team is just again offensively explosive. We don't have all of their guys so far. Obviously, the big thing at the moment is their quarterback, which we don't know who it is. The rumor is they've got their guy. We need to find out who it is. But then you look at Paris, and we will talk about all these teams. Maybe not in this episode, but in other ones to come. But because there are so many players to talk about. But like Paris, Zach Edwards is returning, which is box office stuff. Hugo Tekadam, Austin Mitchell. It's kind of like two offensive, and both of them are so fast. Every single piece of this offense on both sides, it's just speed all the way. And Jack Del Rio is back, of course, with the Paris Musketeers, the former NFL head coach. There's just so much from each game. That's just the first game. And then obviously on the second game and the third game of the week, we got Nordic Storm versus Prague, which is not a matchup we got last season, but one I'm really looking forward to seeing this year. And then Munich Ravens versus the Raiders Tyrrell, which is a long-standing rivalry that was building up a lot towards last season and the year before. Like there's just so many different storylines that come to mind. It's something I've been talking about a lot on my personal channels, and I know you have too. It's like it's kind of just pick a thread and follow it. You're going to end up with some unbelievable stuff. Like the competitiveness that we have between these six teams is unbelievable. I think it's probably the best. You couldn't really pick a preseason winner. Maybe you could, but I probably couldn't. Maybe if I had to pick, maybe Nordic Storm.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If we're going to go for a team that's historically been the strongest out of these six, it's going to be the Nordic Storm. But then you can't look at the Prague Lions, especially in week one, and not really look at the Lions and go, God, there's probably a chance here that they can get something done. I mean, like a Prague Lions victory over the Nordic Storm in week one would really set the tone for the rest of the season in regards to you can't have this moniker over Prague being the de facto weakest team in the first year of the EFA. If they manage to, I think even if they put on a decent performance against Nordic, you can sort of eliminate that narrative straight from the off. But unfortunately, someone's gonna have to be considered as the lowest placed team, and not two of these teams are not going to be in the postseason. And obviously, right now it's difficult to predict who it's going to be, but I'd argue that's sort of the way we like it.
I agree, massively agree. But like, I'm not sure if you know, it's like the urge to leak like 6 signings. I might bleep this on the episode, but do you know who the Munich Ravens have? Is that like has 2 of their new signings that are coming in? They're getting and they're getting
really,
yeah.
Munich
are getting those guys.
Oh dear.
I'm going to bleep over those names. Editing Matt, do not forget to bleep those names. You're going to lose your job.
Nuts. That is nuts.
Mm-hmm. Like that's
okay.
Like the talk about reinforcements. Like this team was one of the hottest teams in the league last season when I'm playing in.
It becomes a thing of who has to sort of be that de facto worst place team, and I think that even if you have that moniker, it's not going to be there for much long. I think that there's competitive games from week one until the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. And then like we don't have all the callbacks as I mentioned, but to get just this slate of the first couple of games, we get Jadrian versus Jalen Henderson, which is awesome. And receiver battle, you get someone like Brolio versus Willie P.
Yeah,
which is insane. And then the Ravens Raiders, you get Malik Stanley and Russell Tabor against the Raiders, who just signed a quarterback. They had a bit of an injury. I think you were there for that injury with their quarterback. but they've just got their replacement. I need to watch the tape on him still. But then Aaron Jackson, Ajax is back, and like he was one of my favorite receivers I've ever seen in Europe. And as a special teams guy, he's just electric. So I think the Raiders are definitely going to be more pass heavy. I was doing research on Marco Schneider today, and they've just re-signed Marco Schneider. But I noticed his stats have kind of gone down every year because they've been more reliant on the run. We all know how good the Raiders are at running the ball. I feel like I've beaten that drum about 1 billion times because they've got Bonatti and Hasselvanter and Tim Tonko, and they've had all these great running backs. But I think this season they've taken more of an approach to impact the passing game more, and I think the league should be looking at that. And I think the league should be very scared of the Raiders being able to unlock that passing game. I think it's going to be really, really worrying for the Ravens. But they did just sign Nitz back to be their corner, so there's going to be a fun matchup as well.
Yeah, I mean, the first week, it's going to be amazing, and I mean, to start on Friday as well. It'd be best way to start. Best way to start your weekend.
I agree. You just get 3 in a row. You can just watch all the way through the weekend, and then
I mean, but this is it. Like this just tantamount in my life. That'd probably be the main thing that I do at the weekend. It's
same. Same. But then when it comes to the play, we got all the week. We will go week by week at some point during the season, talk about different storylines that are coming up because the regular season ends about the start of August. We will then have the playoffs, which you know a little bit more about that than I do. But tell me what you know about the speciality and the individualistic presentation of the EFA going into the playoffs.
So I mean, having the event be in Frankfurt, both semi-final games spread out across a weekend. I mean, I think it sets itself up nicely for the championship game wherever that may be held, because we've both been to events on the continent for European American football, and for me, like, it's the atmosphere is such an underrated place to be as an American football fan, because to look around after like going to the NFL London games and seeing all of these European fans cheering for domestic teams, domestic pro teams, you look at it and you're like, this is incredible, this is amazing. And now there's going to be over the course of a weekend 4 fan bases all converging on Frankfurt, and I think it lends itself to really showcase the not just the diversity of the fan base and where people have watched from, where they're coming from, who they support, why they support the teams in question, but then also a great display of football within the semi-finals. Semi-finals, you're going to be able to have those top 4 teams compete, and that be the key event of both of those days. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I do think it's a smart idea to condense the league as much as possible into one city to get the maximum amount of not just value and bang for your buck, but also the sort of community atmosphere that it will bring in having those 4 teams as fan bases converge on Frankfurt. And I'm sure that even the 2 teams that will not be playing in Frankfurt more than likely going to have some level of contingent in Frankfurt, and I'm looking forward to going out there for it if I do.
Oh, I think we probably will be, because then we've got I'm really upset too, because then we've got those matchups, right? And we're going to go in, we're going to have this great weekend, everyone's going to be having fun. But then say we get, because everyone plays everyone, that's the beauty of this.
Yeah.
We will be getting rematches. We will be having perhaps settled scores with if someone wins one, someone else wins the other, because you got to defend home and away, which I love personally, and obviously I'm sure you love, and a lot of Europeans will, because it kind of takes from the football side of it, where you have to play everyone home and away. That's just kind of how you do it. So with everyone doing that, say Prague and Frankfurt last season, they went 1-1. They beat each other in each other's home grounds. We get that for a third time, because that intensity was already getting there. We've seen the Prague Lions players already saying that the Galaxy is the game they're most looking forward to. I'm actually going to look now. They don't play each other for a while. They play each other in week 6 in Prague, but I think that's going to be electric. And that's just one game, like the Raiders Ravens, as we talked about. We get some potentially new ones, like Jadrian versus Zach Edwards. Like that's a throwback matchup that I think everyone's going to love. Raiders versus Prague last year, I feel like would have been really good, and now we finally get it this season. Like it just unlocks so much. And I'm a storyline guy. You're a storyline guy when your time in wrestling and whatnot, and through just being a general sports fan, it's the best part about it. So that's the thing I'm most looking forward to, is potentially like these settled scores over the course of the weekend. Obviously, we don't know where the championship game is yet, but again, most likely it's going to be a matchup that we've seen. It makes it a little bit easier for us because we've got plenty of tape to watch.
Yeah.
But like last season, we had like it was good, but I think it could have been better. There could have been more build up. There could have been more boots on the ground in terms of filming each game and having more of a personal connection. I think this year is going to take it to to be honest, a whole nother level. I think it's going to be. I'm really like I can't actually contain my excitement. I think it's going to be awesome.
I mean, you look at last year. I mean, I'd say definitely you had a hand in that. I mean, I remember watching the Frankfurt Galaxy and the Madrid Bravos going at it towards the end of the season, and just being able to, really soak in the moment of that game and enjoy it as if I'm watching an NFL game. With a beer in hand and some hot chips in the other, and basically shouting at my other half who sat next to me about Reed Sinnett and the Bravos and how close it was, and her simply not caring. But one day, somehow she's managed to be a Paris Musketeers fan. So, I mean, good start.
That's a good start. I don't think my girlfriend is I should say not my girlfriend, my fiance is waiting for it. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one. I don't think she's picked a team yet, so maybe she'll pick one down the road. My mum is a Munich Ravens fan now. That's pretty known. She was invited to the flock. Like,
really,
when we were at the woods, Karen went up to me from the Munich Ravens ultras and said, "We've got a seat reserved for your mum." I was like, not for me then. Like, I'm not reserved here. Like, I'm not welcome in Munich, apparently. No. But my mum has got a seat. So maybe we'll see this series we have. Obviously, we have some other ideas of stuff we'd like to do together during the season. Perhaps my mum's got to go to a Munich game. I feel like that's got to happen.
It's if this ends up that my other half gets to go to watch a Paris Musketeers game, she'll be happy. I tell you what, the reason why she supports them is genuinely because she asked me what NFL team she should support. I told her that she can't support the Dolphins because that's not allowed. So she decided on the Saints, and obviously the Saints and the Musketeers have got that link. So it ended up being Paris, which I think, as a reason goes, if she's seen wearing her La Rose jersey, if someone asks her about it, that it's a pretty decent enough reason.
Yeah, he's actually a great guy. I was getting an Uber back from when we were in Switzerland, and Florian was there, and we were getting a bus and train and everything like that. And he's French; he can read everything on the Swiss thing, but he was just guiding me around. I was like, I'm throwing him onto the bus here. He was like, we haven't paid for a ticket. I was like, oh, shh, it's fine. So we just went through Switzerland together. It was good fun. But yeah, Florian LaRose, he's not yet re-signed actually, but I'd love to see him back with the Musketeers. He's a baller, man. Like, I just did a thing about the generation of young receivers we have here. Just for week 1, I'm going to name a couple of the receivers. I'm just looking at the matchups. I'm just going to go off the dome. Like I said, Frankfurt Galaxy, they got Foster, they've got Brevin Easton, they've got Paul Lenhart, and they've got Shum. That's just a great quadruple receiver set.
I mean, Earnhardt last year, I remember multiple times of being on comms and try not to annoy my neighbours, screaming his name because he's just pulled off an absolute worldie, But yeah, I'm excited to see him there.
What, Paul?
Yeah,
he's so quick. Like, he's a little like pitbull too. I'm not sure if you've seen him in person. Like he's fiery. Like he will stand up to a linebacker. He'll go over the middle on slant, get absolutely pelted, just pop straight back up and
You
start
know,
out. He's exactly
yeah,
like he is in
I'm
person
gonna
too.
interrupt you on the receivers front. I'm just want to just genuinely profess my love for Gerard Amlin, like genuinely. Like I don't think like it doesn't get enough credit. Like I was so hoping that I'd get to meet him at some point last season, and you know it just didn't come to be. But like after you know following up with Cologne, doing commentary at Cologne, and you know that and being able to see like he's a very very key piece of this, and then going to Frankfurt is you know his play is a very very large reason of why you know when it came to I wouldn't say that I try not to support anyone obviously you know due to being a commentator of course, but it's a reason why that this jersey does reside the jersey this hoodie does reside in my wardrobe. We're going to get back to the receivers, but I just wanted to put that out there, you know, Gerard,
But
if you're
Jared
watching,
Allen,
I'm just saying.
he was my first ever. It was one of my first ever articles. I used to work with Europe's Elite, where we did rankings of all the best high school players in Europe. We had hundreds of them. So all the guys that I was initially ranking then are now in ELF and EFA when they last season. So it's kind of funny for me because Jared Allen was one of the first people I ever wrote an article on. Kev Fortes, Marco Schneider was the first ever video I put on my YouTube channel. I think that's 6 years old, and he went on to win Rookie of the Year. So like, I love Gerald too. He is awesome, great player. He's actually topped his last 2 seasons back to back. So I'm expecting a
Yeah,
big season from him. I think he could maybe sneakily go for like 800, 900 yards. Just needs to clean up his fumble issues, and he could be.
yeah. That I will say, like you know, as a genuine fan of this bloke, yeah, I do have to agree with that.
Like,
I
but I
do
think
agree with
I think he's kind of got the keys to the kingdom at the moment because they haven't signed anyone I would consider to be split. Because that last year is him and Sandro, and
yeah,
then Sandro's just happy retirement to Sandro Platzkammer.
yeah, of course.
And now I think it's kind of just Gerald's team in terms of a running back perspective because they got, like I
I
said,
mean,
so many weapons.
as you know, when it comes to European football, obviously there are key players that you focus on in teams, but for me, just like his work ethic being at you know Cologne, and you know we all know what the deal was in Cologne like what 2 years ago, and I'm not saying that the rest of the Cologne players weren't putting in you know max effort, but you could see that he was, and whenever I'd commentate a game, it would sort of skew back into you know not being as maybe professional as I should have been. I'm really rooting for him, and you know as much as you know you don't want to. Well, to be fair, you know Sandro's gone and he's retired into you know a lucrative career. What you know probably maybe one of the smartest players going into being a doctor. You
Yeah,
know,
one of
and
like 4 doctors we had last year, by the
which
way.
is which is which is nuts, right? But I completely agree that you know this could be Alan's year, and I genuinely am all here for it. Like really and truly, am all here for it.
Like I'm gonna read out his numbers in a minute. I was getting them loaded up, but he, like career wise, they don't pop off because he kind of dealt with injuries and whatnot.
Mhm.
But last season he had over 5 yards per carry. Like again, the offensive line was good last year. Keanu's obviously now back in
Of
the
course.
UK, but to get Luka Jokel, who is just an incredible player in his own right, to have him, like I said though, 5 fumbles, not
Yes.
great, but I think given that he's played 12 games, I say he struggled with injuries. He only really had last like 2024 season, which was like majorly cut short. But it's the first time he's never had 150 carries, which I'd like to see this year.
Mhm.
If he can continue that yards per carry, I think he could be one of the best running backs we have in the league this year. Maybe this will be a good take in a preseason that ages well towards the end of the year.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
Jared Allen's going to have a big one, which I'm looking forward to. Because he's also pretty shifty. Like I think he could be effective in the pass game a little bit more. Great offensive line, great unit, like weapons in terms of receivers that can open up the run game for him. And that's just one half of the opening matchup, but we've been gushing over how much we love this team. The defense, we haven't even talked about the defense of the
Yeah.
Galaxy.
Exactly.
Like this, not easily competitive, and I'm trying to stall time here so I can get my sheet up with their defenders.
Sure.
Yeah, and Toby Naylor, who me and you are big fans
Yes,
of.
yeah, of course. And I mean, like, I think, in terms of Brits having an impact in the league, he's obviously has made a massive impact already. But again, I think with this 6 teams, sort of the eyes of the UK, especially when you are considering that the London franchise for the EFA is coming in 2027. It wouldn't surprise me if there are a few binoculars from the big smoke pointed directly at Toby Naylor.
Having played with Toby Naylor as well, it's one of the very few players, Tebbs, I've ever actually played with because I was not a very good player. So Toby and I actually go back to like 2016. Then you got Enrico Trigoya, who was like really good a couple of years ago. He was a rookie that came in, I think 24, and everyone had Pablo Araya, who me and you are big fans of, and Pierre Mejo, who ultimately did win the Rookie of the Year award. It was those two. Like, it was very obvious one of those two was going to win it. But then Enrico Trigoya was like that third guy that didn't maybe get like the media attention that he deserved, maybe apart from me, because I'm just a weirdo that likes random players in Europe. And he just went so under the radar. And I think this year he's going to be a little bit more important. Jalen Clay, I've watched Jay Clay, of course. Jamal, our good friend, is happy there's another fellow Jay Clay in the league. But I'm not sure if you've watched him, but he's aggressive on the ball. Like, his trigger is unbelievable. Like, he's coming to hit people. So I think with him, he's going to be a tone setter. And then obviously Toby is also a bit of a hitter when it comes to effective. He's a little bit inconsistent, I found last year with Toby, and I've said this to him as well. And I've watched the tape on it, and I was going to do an eval of Toby, but I couldn't find all the tape that I needed to. When he plays well, the Galaxy last year were incredible. If you look at that Nordic game, like that, he was one of the best performances I think we saw from a linebacker all year. But if he was missing tackles last year for the Galaxy, they were terrible.
Yeah.
So if they can shore him up, maybe improve the defensive. I know of a defensive line signing. I'm going to edit this one out, but they do.
Right.
So that's going to be improved. And again, I'm going to put a little bleep over that, and I'm going to leave it in. But like, that player that I've just said is going to make Toby Naylor's life a lot easier in the linebacker corps.
Yeah.
Like, and geez, we haven't even talked about that. That's just sound excited. We haven't even got to Paris yet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm waiting for you to get to Paris.
There we go. Right. You know what? Let's get to Paris. They've been a little bit more busy in the last couple of days. Talking about linebackers, Degan Gomez, one of my favorite linebackers in the entire league, can play all over. Just a seriously versatile guy. One of the very few linebackers, I think, in Europe that can cover the pass like to a good degree. I think that kind of goes under the radar a lot. But they're safeties, man. Oh, like, if you saw my ranking, the top highest DBs I have ranked, they have the number 1 and the number 2 spot. They got Suleiman Kormoko, who just finished his stint with the Blue Bombers, baller. Yeah. And then Yannick Ward-Fell, who was an award winner in college as a defensive back. Like, he won like the Defensive Back of the Year award. Then goes into the CFL for a bit with Ottawa. He's now back. So you got 2 former CFL safeties as homegrowns, which
amazing.
Is unbelievable. And he put Jamal Liggins in there as well. Like this defensive back unit is incredible.
It's going to be an interesting one as well because we don't know currently who the Frankfurt Galaxy quarterback is. We can't really make any assertions as to where they're going to favor it, whether it be on the ground or through the air. Obviously, right now we can wax lyrical about the running back room of the Frankfurt Galaxy, but I imagine that will be until they're able to release and sign their quarterback for the first season of the EFA.
Yeah, I agree. But like, although they don't have their quarterback, they could put me in there and they'd still be a decent team.
Like, yes.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Well, I can hand the ball off to Gerald 50 times a game.
Maybe not you.
But like, that's the kind of level that they're at the moment, the Galaxy franchise. And I've had my beefs with the Galaxy franchise. because they made fun of me when I was right. Which I'm not letting that go. But they are so stacked, and then Galaxy kind of they were the first winners in the ELF when it was a thing. They were the first champions of that league. I think part of them is kind of wanting to just go all out for it now. The San Tobinado, like you said, the EFA London team is coming in 27. The expectation is they're going to want that gem in the middle, and Tobinado is probably the best linebacker in the UK. So him, Arthur Kingdom, pick your poison. They're both great players. So for them, I think it may be a bit of a throw, maybe kind of an all-in approach. Maybe they just go crazy with this quarterback for 1 year and just maybe try and get a UFL guy or low floor, or high floor, low ceiling. Just go for it, kind of dude. What do you reckon?
I mean, I think that would be the case. I mean, let's be honest, the landscape of European American football has been completely reshaped. There's only one there's only one team that can be the first. So, and especially when you're coming into a league where the teams or all the teams within it are not spawned out of nothing. There is there is legacy and there is players behind these teams even before they take the field or anything is announced, right? That you might as well try and be the first. And that's why I think, you look around the league, whether it be a Zach Edwards or a Jadrian Clark, you've got these strong quarterbacks in already, Henderson as well. And it just seems like, as much as we, are talking about how dominant we think the Galaxy can be, specifically in this game, but I personally think for the rest of the season, it is really a testament to what they've been able to do throughout the positions that they have. When, let's be real, if we're talking about an American football team and you're talking about every other position, but your quarterback is still a big question mark, normally you'd be turning around going, well, we just don't know. Whereas I think for the Galaxy, I think that there's more of a chance that they hit on this quarterback than they don't. Even though, unless I get a letter through my mailbox saying that Tebbs, we've drafted you, you're coming to Frankfurt, then I'd probably say that they're in for a bit of a rough journey. But I'd be surprised if, number one, the selection they get doesn't raise eyebrows, and number two, the whoever it is going to be able to lead an already stacked team forward into the future. But with Paris, I think with how well Frankfurt has been able to really market themselves coming into this season, there's a lot more emphasis, at least in my mind anyway, being placed on the Galaxy. Obviously, we've just done it, but through this talking. But the Paris Musketeers are. You can't turn your nose up at the Musketeers either, and they seem to have a bit more. I'd say maybe a bit less sizzle and a bit more steak when it comes to this particular matchup. They've got players that they've been able to witness over the last few years, bringing people back from the CFL as well. But then also the key component, having a quarterback and a tested, proven quarterback who has a link with the fan base already, which I think is going to be key as obviously we enter this new era of European American football where, these links in this condensed league are only going to become stronger, and being able to get a guy like Zach Edwards back, I think is going to be massive for not just the on-field performance, but the off-field performance of the Paris Musketeers as well.
Yeah, I strongly agree. Fantastic points. Yeah, because if we look at the Galaxy, they've just signed Rodion Enrique like today, like an hour ago at this point. So they've also they've added another potential turnover creator, one of the best turnover creators we've ever seen in Europe. And in Paris, you say about a connection to the city. Their GM Booker, who I've had the pleasure of drinking with in Switzerland, is an exceptional GM. Who, like, when I say I could name, we were going back and forth. I was saying to him that the UK is better than France in its homegrown talent pool. He was like, "Oh, name me these guys." We're just going back and forth on players. Sure, I was right. but
So you were doing that meme where it's like all guys need is a couple of beers and then just naming football players.
he actually got to that point.
Strong.
Honestly, it really was at that point where we were just naming British and French football players around a couple of burgers in a tiny little town in Switzerland for a combine. So that was with the OC of the current Raiders Tyrrell system as well. So it's pretty crazy. That's aged pretty well. The stuff we were talking about there, and just the players and the talent that he's so confident in Paris. I think, like the Musketeers, of course, were brought in a couple of years ago when they were first founded, and everyone knew they were going to be good. And I think they've not won a championship yet, but I think this season they're thinking, look, we haven't won it the last couple of years. First season, I think we kind of not underperformed, but people thought they were going to come in and just sweep everyone. They didn't. Last season, they missed the playoffs, which I think a lot of people, they look at it and they're like, they missed the playoffs. They couldn't have been very good. They beat the Surge, who are an incredible team. They were just unlucky with divisions, and that's the good thing about this. That now we don't have divisions, so they're not going to get scrubbed from the playoffs for like having a slightly worse team in conference. So, yeah, I think both of them are kind of going for the championship run. Galaxy want to be the first again, and Paris want to have their first ever after, you could argue, not having performed as well as people would have expected them to have performed at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, with Paris, I mean the expectations are upon them because I think even with the new league, that they're still considered new. Do you know what I mean? That they're if I'm correct, the newest franchise.
Nordic would be the newest franchise.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, of course. How did I forget? Yeah, of course, Nordic are the newest franchise, but I mean, that is true. Yeah, but the problem is Nordic came in and just like, yeah, they did sort of what the Rhine Fire were able to do. They were able to sort of replicate that with Jadrian and with Glenn Tunga as well. God, I can't believe I forgot the Nordic Storm. Yeah, but like it just seems like because of their sort of instant success that they've been around longer. If Joe is, it feels like I've aged. It feels like I've aged, probably 5 or 6 years since that last European final. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, of course, but it's not that Nordic are more established; it's that they've got more of a winning pedigree, and I think that hasn't come in from just the last season. I think with the roster that they put together going forward, you could even say at the start of last season, you look at the Nordic Storm and say, hey, they are up there in favourites to make it all the way to the championship game. And whereas I don't think Paris have had that feeling, at least for me anyway, that you look at them literally in this point of the season and go, I think we're going to see Paris in the championship final. Whereas Nordic last year, you could say, if it is Nordic in the championship final, no one's going to be up in arms going, "Oh my god, how did they do it?" Do you know what I mean? Where obviously with this condensed league, I think with Paris, if obviously you would expect to make the championship game, but if they're not going to Frankfurt to play in those semi-final games across the weekend, that I would be up in arms, very surprised.
Yeah, me too. And like you said about the championship pedigree, and I think there was an argument from some people that if it wasn't for injuries, they would have been in the championship game last year. If you remember, Jadrian had some kind of knee issue or ankle. He had a leg issue in the semi-final when it practically made him off of one leg. He's hanging off of a player in timeouts because his knee is in or leg is in so much pain. They lost Chad at one point. I think Luke Glenner was struggling with injuries. He had injuries on the offensive line and to receiver core, and the running back room was ripped apart with Glenn getting hurt. So you could argue they would have been in the championship game. Obviously, injuries are part of it, so you can't really rely on that not to happen. But I'm just going to read out a couple of names, and this sounds to me like a championship roster with Jadrian Clark at quarterback. You got Bolio as your American receiver. Edwin Almeida and Simon Fons as your receiver core.
Yeah.
Roberto Miranda, championship winning tight end, who is one of 2 D1 tight ends they have, by the way, because he went to Arizona and then Jonathan Steinhanner went to Baylor. The offensive line, they've just signed Isaac Moore, former Temple University offensive lineman. Victor Stoffel, another former Temple offensive lineman that was all conference as an offensive lineman, then went to Cal. Asan Setzenberg, baller, probably my favorite interior pass rusher in Europe. Emil Horfda, who is a beast from his time with Berlin, same with Luke Vidmyron. Hugo Hajrol, who is an all-star linebacker. David Tawaki, who is I think he's Fijian and Danish, which, like, if you're going to make a person
Yeah.
that, like, is made to be a linebacker, you probably go for those two countries.
Yep.
And then Khalid Adisa, who's a good friend of mine, but don't tell him that. And then Luke Glenna is their American safety. And I've heard, I'm not going to reveal, but I'm not 100% sure. I know that they've got some very, very jaw-droppingly good players that have won championships that are going to make this team look like a serious threat. So it's a championship level team with a lot of experience. Some people, like, they're not too old, they're not too young, but I think this is another team. We went 3 for 3. That is probably going to look for their first championship and to be the first championship winner, because I think they could have had a shot at that last season.
I mean, I think the big question for me when looking at Nordic is, Glenn Tunga going out very, very early.
Yeah,
exactly. One game is his bounce back. I think is going to be. I don't think it's going to be the story of the Nordic Storm, but I think it's going to be a story that is going to be, under a microscope for the rest of the season. I mean, suffering an Achilles injury as he did, rupturing the whole thing, is not that's not a small injury. That's one of the ones that can change a player's life and career. It's going to be a case of how well can he do on the bounce back, because obviously he was an amazing player for both for Rhine, and then they tried to get him over to Nordic, but then the injury. But then I think in the same vein as Toby Naylor, that there'll be eyes on him for the London team when it comes to it, or I'd be very, very surprised if you don't look at Glenn Tunga and what he's been able to achieve in European football as a marquee talent for a team based in London, to have him as one of, if not the largest homegrown star. But I think it depends on the comeback story, and I think that's as we said about the narrative surrounding the season. I think that one is going to be one that's going to be interesting to watch. I wouldn't quite say fun, because no one's taken the field as of yet, but I think it's going to be one that is going to be one that has to be really, really dialed in on, just about if Tunga can complete a comeback. I do believe that he can. I'm not Glenn Tunga doubter by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, it's a difficult injury to come back from, especially with someone as fast and dynamic as Glenn Tunga. Like, I've never torn my Achilles, but then at the same time, I can only dream about having the movement that Glenn Tunga has. I watch Glenn Tunga, and my ACL starts to get a little bubbly. Do you know what I mean? It starts to rupture. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how Nordic does, but very much focused on Glenn Tunga, just to see. Everyone loves a comeback story, and that's one of the key things I'll be looking at.
Yeah, because we don't know that he's officially signed yet, but like we can kind of assume, because he's like over in Denmark quite a lot. Him and Jadrian are really good friends. Like, they kept him throughout the whole season last year, like in the city. So like continuity wise, if there's like a lock in that people are really expecting is Glenn to be back in Nordic, they wouldn't have kept him around for this whole time, like to just to get rid of him and not tell him that he can come around for the second season and get a proper run in. Because from what I've heard from my inside sources with the Nordic Storm, they're all about having just basically the same thing that they had last year put into this team, with some minor changes with people leaving in free agency. So we're going to expect largely the same Nordic Storm, which I'm completely okay with because they were an exceptional team last season. I know some people thought I was a hater because I said they were going to go out in the playoffs, which they did, but like it was
Yeah.
such a good team. Like you can't really go wrong with it. And then they play Prague in the opening week, and I've never sounded so British in my life whenever I say Prague. But of course, this is a team that I'm familiar with, and was the story like one of those narratives? And we always talk about narratives, and for some reason, coaches and players don't buy into narratives. Well, they say they don't, but I know that they do. The Prague Lions narrative was definitely the biggest of last year's run, and I think this year they kind of got to say this wasn't a fluke. Like we're about that. We've got this great team, and they look better in some places. I don't think they're as good in other places. But to get someone like Jalen Henderson, who was just a weapon, some people thought he underperformed last year with Paris. I'm not one of them. With Adam Zizelka, if you're a Jared Elman fan through and through, I'm that with Adam Zizelka. This is exactly how I feel because he's just, for me, he represents everything that Prague has been over the last couple of years. They were awful. Like for their first couple of seasons, people weren't even sure if they were ever going to play again. And then he was there throughout the whole time. He has this great year last year. He was like one. He didn't play the last game, but he was very close to the rushing title. He's just a fun back to watch because he will just get yards. He will just run through a person's face, which I love. You got the speed, you got everything with Prague. Like it's just such a fun team. But I do think they're going to be thinking about. It wasn't a fluke, but like, is everyone else going to think it was?
For me anyway, with Prague is, don't get me wrong, great season last year, but when coming into the EFA and being a part of the 6 teams, is they've got to almost that narrative, despite being decent last season, hasn't left them when you're with these 6 teams, and they're going to have to, once again, fight to prove the people wrong in the sense of they are the weakest team in the EFA, right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of the same position that they were in last year, but it sets itself up once again to have that feel good run. They know the pressure. They know what it's like to be in this position, more so than I'd say any of the other teams in the EFA. So I think mentality-wise for the Prague Lions, I think they're exactly where they need to be doubted once again. And that fires teams up, and especially when you're going against one of the heavy hitters, one of the favorites to take the entire thing in week 1, that even a stellar performance from Prague can immediately wipe off any doubt that the Prague Lions are not an elite European American football franchise.
Yeah, and I think Willie P as a receiver can cut it with anyone, right? I don't think there's any question he's in the conversation as best receiver in the league, and I don't think we know every American receiver that's in the league at the moment. We might do. I need to fact check myself on that one, but he's hanging around with the very best, and yes, we do. We know the American receiver for every team. We got Brevin Easton, we got Austin Mitchell, we got Bolio, Willie P, Aaron Jackson, and Malik Stanley.
Right. That's a decent list.
Who's not a top 5 receiver in that? You got to have one of them outside top 5, and I don't want to give an answer. I don't know.
I tell you what, I don't envy whoever it is who makes the lists for the. Oh, it's you. Oh, it's you. Oh, I don't envy you.
It's me. Yeah, I'm the guy. And the guy's got to do that. So that's oh geez, I got to make a tier list on that one. So that's
Well, hold on, wait. Are you saying tier list is in tier list, or just a tier when you have to try and decide to be the best?
I think a bit of both, because that's going to be, I don't know who you even, that's going to be an in-depth film, and I'm going to get a ton of people messaging me that I'm wrong on that one. Can't wait for that.
Like your DMs after that, switch them off. Delete Instagram from your phone.
My goodness, how do you pick a best receiver out of that? Like that's insane. That's a crazy 6. That's like
I'll tell you what, that is why I'm so thankful that is not a Tebbs problem, and that is a Matt Bressington problem.
Goodness, I'm just deep in it now. How wild that is!
Yeah.
That's the 6 receivers we get to watch. Like Willie P, just off of my currently, it's informed with past experience, is probably a top 3 receiver in that. Probably Willie P is going to be saying he's number 1. I'm sure, which I expect all of them to do.
Say but right now.
However, the thing with Prague is their depth, and it was a depth last season. It's the same thing. They do get Poland as an additional homegrown territory. We'll see how much they're able to add to that. I have no worries about their offense. They've got Fred, who's a good friend of mine, personal mentor. We've worked together on the Dutch national team. We've worked together on the UFL combines. Me and Fred, we know each other very well. I literally called him just before we started the show. He's got Isaiah Kleinberg, who's one of his guys he knows from the national team, incredibly versatile offensive lineman, played in Bristol, so you've watched him play as well. They got Miguel Cabancaya, very athletic Spanish offensive tackle, Jasper Friss, former D1 guy. Like, they've stacked up the offense, I have no question about it. It's the defense that they've still got some guys unsigned.
Mm-hmm.
But like Ken Hike, no question, he's an absolute savage.
Yeah.
I think personally, in my opinion, he should have been a 2-time awarded DPOY. I think he should have been, maybe not award nominated. He should have been nominated for a DPOY last season. And then Massimo Beard's DPOY with Helvetic when he was opposite Ken. I think Ken should have been nominated for that too, because Ken was exceptional. So, in my opinion, the best corner in the league. Again, withholding that ranking until I get into the proper tape, but Ken, I'm a big fan of. How much can one corner affect, the run game? Are we going to see Jakub Smudny back? Are the linebacker core going to be re-energized? That's why a lot of people think that Prague are not probably the 5th or 6th. The Raiders come across as the other team that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I think you're right. I think the fact of, we'll be in doubt with it again, let's go show him again who we are, I think is probably the best mentality. You don't want to be, we got 7-5 last year, we're done. We don't need to try anymore. Yeah. They've now got to reintroduce themselves to the Europeans.
And this is, I mean, it's the sort of old adage of, I didn't come this far to come this far, and I think that is very much what is going to be, Prague Lions football for the next season, is proving people wrong. Again, I do think that, let's be honest, like they're swimming with the sharks here, and they're probably one of the only teams, probably with Raiders as well, where there are questions. And a lot of these teams, they have got questions, but the questions are quite small. With Prague, the questions are slightly larger. But don't get me wrong, I'm all here for another Prague Lions dream season. They win it all, and hey, I mean, champagne will fly, and I'll bask in jumping on the Prague Lions gravy train, much as I'm sure anyone would do. And I definitely did do that last year. So
I was so
shameless.
I was meant to be. I told myself in the preseason, because I obviously helped with the team. A lot of people gave me a lot of credit for it, which I want to say the coaches did a hell of a lot more than I did because they gone through the season. But I was there in the scouting room, and I was like, I don't want to be too biased. I help make the team, and I know a lot about the roster, and I'm close to some of the coaches. I just want to keep it calm. Week 1, that all went out the window.
I was about to say week 1.
Week 1. And I think they started, so I think they went 0 for 2 in the first couple of games, and everyone said that was crazy. And they went that win streak. I think they're unbeaten away for like 5 games in a row. So, yeah, I think you're right, though, with Prague. That's definitely going to be the way they're at. I think we kind of segue that into the Raiders or the Ravens, because that is the final game on the week 1. The fact that we've got an hour just talking about week 1 says a lot. We kind of touched on Munich. They are in a very good Bristolian accent there, by the way. They're in a very South German area, which is just so talent rich. They're going to get some guys from Stuttgart. But then you got Darkwa, defensive tackle, Temple, former, I think he went to Penn State for a year before transferring. They got Ioannis Zirigbal, one of the best pass rushers in Germany, and they got Etwa. I always get the name wrong because he's Kiwi, but Etwa Louis, I think that's pronounced incorrectly, but you know who I'm talking about. The big dog. That's their D line, which already looks, and then Hiswell Answer, of course, looks like an absolute killer unit. They've got someone like Nitz back in as probably one of the best defensive backs in Europe, especially as a European. Philip Okonwu, just one of the most athletic tight ends we have. Marvin Rouge has just been announced, I think today or today. Justin Rodney, who is kind of like Almeln, like he was in the background for so many years, and no one really thought of Rodney being this number one running back. Like he was behind, he was behind Tomiwa Yewo for a while, and then broke out. He was also at the Galaxy. People always forget Rodney has been around like the last couple of years. Rodney's like he's been here for a minute. And now people are starting to give his flowers, but he has a Russian title. Russell Tabor was a big storyline last season, just how good he was. I wonder who made a video about him when he was in Spain. I'm not sure who did that. That might have been, it was me. I did that.
Yeah, no, don't worry, mate. We got it. Mate,
he was exceptional last season. I'm so excited to watch him versus Zach Edwards, by the way, because they play so similarly. You kind of think, oh, do they? And then you watch it, you're like, yeah, they definitely do. This Munich Ravens team is got potential to be really, really special, especially when they get reinforcements in the coming couple of weeks. I think they've announced like today or yesterday that they're making a signing post every day, so we'll see a lot of that roster filled up in the next week.
I mean, when it comes to Munich, I mean, one of the most, I know a lot of the teams are exciting, but I think, you look at the Frankfurt Galaxy, they're exciting. You look at Munich, they're exciting as well. I mean, some teams, play hard-nosed football and you just, golf clap of approval. Whilst you look at the Munich Ravens and they're, I'm in the stands shouting, shirt maybe off. And I think they're going to continue that this season. And I think that when it comes to this first matchup, and this is going to be, one of the maybe the first of my cold takes of the entire season, is when I look at those three games, I think this one, for me anyway, is the most cut and dry. And yes, I am including Prague versus Nordic in that as well. And that could just be, me willing Prague to put on a performance against Nordic. But for me, I think, the Ravens, I mean, last season, you look at the playoff run, it was exciting. And for me, that's my key attribute. Is it exciting football? Can I lose myself in a game? And if I basically it's, if life ain't going too well, I'm feeling a bit down in the dumps, but a Munich Raven game is on the TV, don't worry, I'm fine for the next 3-4 hours. And then Raiders on the other side. Again, let's be real, they're a good team, but they've never really been able to capitalize on it. There's always been elements of the Teal Raiders that are missing, and it's strange because they have got they had been a very, very prominent run game, and people were well aware that they had a prominent run game, and it mattered absolutely zero. And I think coming into this game, I don't know. I think obviously we don't know all the signings of everyone. I think the Ravens are simply a more complete football team.
Yes, that is wise words, and you're definitely right. Because but the Raiders, they fascinate me, and there's multiple reasons why. First of all, their quarterback situation has been, and actually, let me reverse that back. We usually in my other previous shows we get one swear word per show. And I'm going to use it on the Raiders turtle because they play fuck ass football. Like they're going to run it for 5 or 6 yards. There's not really much you can do about that. And then they're going to get the ball, and then they're going to run it. And you just get like they did it to the Madrid. You remember that Madrid game? I think it was in Innsbruck.
Yes.
Everyone thought Madrid were going to win. I thought Madrid were going to win. And the Raiders just grinded them out. They'd allow maybe a big play on to Aaron Cruikshank, who didn't allow a big play to Aaron Cruikshank. And then they just get the ball, keep running and running and running, and just can't do anything about it because they're just so good at what they do. It is not the most exciting football, but for like a football purist, I think it probably is. Their quarterback issues, they've already started. They've been in a bit of a purgatory since Sean Shelton.
Yeah.
They had Sean Shelton in, won MVP, retired on MVP. They had Miller, who got hurt. They've had Nkosi Perry, who was inconsistent at moments. They had Strong, who was inconsistent. They had who they cut when Strong left. Who they get in? Because they had Sydney at receiver when Jarvis left. I can't remember who they had at quarterback, but they've just never really been the same since Sean Shelton left a quarterback position. I think even they know that. But then you get Aaron Jackson. It was like, okay, but that's pretty interesting. And then they get Sean Fatter, who, for like anyone who is not Austrian or not German, I definitely didn't know too much about him until last season. This guy is beloved in Innsbruck because he was with them for years. Like, he was with the Austrian team for a while and the German team for a while. My connection in Austria, his wife knows who Sean is. Like, she does not care about football. Like, it's just that, she'll support her husband in his football team, kind of like me and your partner and whatever. They do, what I mean? They're around, they're aware of it.
Yeah.
She knows who the head coach is that wasn't on their team. That's how much pull he has in that area of the world. So they're really excited to see what he can get in Austria and some of the recruiting battles. They also, they haven't really done much with it yet, but they get Switzerland and they get Italy as homegrown territories. Yeah. So this roster could go from like maybe the worst and maybe a less talented team. Overnight, you could have a receiver unit with Aaron Jackson, Marco Schneider, Forrest Calderon, Milan Spiller, Andrew Platzkummer, and then all of a sudden you've got like that's some serious weapons. So you add that into the running back room they've already got, and that looks like a killer team. Of course, again, injuries are a thing. They've had a quarterback injury, and they've had John Walls, who's their corner that I loved. He's already out injured and placed on IR before we've even played a snap. So there's definitely questions. But the Raiders, for me, they have like, I think you'll agree with this, the lowest floor, but like a pretty high ceiling.
No.
Well, okay.
No,
okay.
I'm not going to agree with that. I mean, looking at these 6 teams, and this again, you like MMA, right?
I do.
It's like George St. Pierre.
Mm.
I know it hasn't started yet, right? And I am not impressed by your performance. I don't know. I just can't. I can't see the Raiders this season. I don't think that. I just don't think it's there. I think if we look at these 6 teams, obviously when we've got this new change of European football, I think the team that has to change their DNA coming into the EFA the most is the Raiders. And obviously right now, and again, I do apologize, Raiders, we're in the preseason. These picks they are coming fast and they are coming loose, right? We've not seen any displays of football yet from the Raiders, but I just think that they need to change it up. And I think that this is the perfect opportunity to do it. But right now, for me personally, I wouldn't book a flight to Frankfurt for the semi-finals if you are a Raiders fan.
You're gonna make some friends in Innsbruck. I'll tell you that.
I tell you what, coming from British football, having people some people like me there, not like me there. I feel like I'm about to enter a new age of people hating me. But I think an interesting point there, once again, is we know that we've spoken slightly about London here, but this is also a place for the Italian team to maybe get some scouting, and maybe even like saying maybe go to the Raiders for some of these teams. And I think that it does open up that door for them. Again, this is I apologize, Raiders fans, that we haven't seen any football yet, right? But again, in my far too early predictions, I do not have the Raiders making the playoffs.
We'll see how that ages. I think that's a good place to wrap up
Yeah,
episode 1. Let us know who you think is in and out of the playoffs. Let us know if you have a better name than just EFA preseason show episode 1 with Matt Bressington and Chris Tebbs, or Chris Tebbs and Matt Bressington, whatever way you want to go about it.
there's a right way.
It's all right. We'll have to negotiate that one. But yeah, it's been good fun. I've really enjoyed this. Any final words on week 1 or the semifinals in Frankfurt or anything? What fires you up for this season?
What fires me up this season is just European football's back, and there's so much fire from each of these teams to be able to, once again, you can only be first. We can only be one first. And I think that's what is key here. Whether it be you've got your first win, whether you've won your first championship, your first playoff appearance, your first touchdown. We're in for a season of firsts, and I can't wait for it. So for me, it's simple. Lock in for not just terrible takes, but lock in for some of the best football. Not just in the continent of Europe, but across this lovely wide world as well.
I think it could be amazing. If you had odds on that Frankfurt Galaxy versus Paris Musketeers for who is going to be the first touchdown scorer in EFA history, who would you put your money on?
Mate, that's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy. I'm back in the ball. I'm back. Mate, scrap the EFA preseason show out the window. Jared Hamlin show featuring this it. I think the goal is to run that joke that Jimmy Kimmel used to run, and we didn't have time for Matt Damon. The same thing. We never have Jared Hamlin on the show.
I was actually going to say, if you guys want any interviews that we need to do throughout the year, but it seems like we can't have Jared Hamlin.
Come on. Right. We'll see you next time.
Been a pleasure. See you in a bit.